down. We got the big heater out there. Oh, dude, it's the perfect weekend, baby.
You're living. What's up, William? What's up, Kishwat? All good. Hope you're doing well out there, folks. All right. So, Derek, the big news coming down this morning and now into the afternoon time from our friend Keith Pompey, who is a frequent contributor to the show, guest to the show. He puts out a story and a tweet a little bit earlier, probably about an hour-ish ago, that James Harden expected to reunite with the Rockets in free agency. There is mutual interest from both sides. Keith goes on to say that this is not just a ploy to get the Sixers money up. I trust Keith's reporting, but I don't always trust what's being fed out there, so we shall see. Now, if this is the case, there's two ways I look at this, Derek, and you tell me how, and folks want to chime in the chat. And John, by the way, I will get to how prom number 1 went last night for Matty E. I'll give you that information in a second. And prom number 2 is tonight, so we're playing a doubleheader, fellas.
And Rob's he's chaperoning. He's on the dance floor dancing. No. He's doing what was that dance called back in the day? What was that? The Carlton dance called the Carlton used to do.
It's not unusual.
Yeah, what was that dance called?
Tom Jones.
Rob's out there doing the Tom Jones.
Trust me, I don't want to traumatize those young people, Derek, for the rest of their lives. Okay, we don't need to do that to them.
Yeah, you already scarred your daughter.
The gritty scarred her, maybe permanently. Yes, that is true, Duck. That is true. Yes, but I will get to that. I promise. Okay. So anyway, here's the way I look at the Harden thing. I think two different ways. Number one, if he goes to Houston, I think they've dodged a. What's up, Andrew? I see you. They have dodged a gigantic mortar coming their way. Because while I still think, obviously, the guy led the league in assists and can still get you about 20 per game. It's not to say that he's washed or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But as time goes on, he's just going to get worse. And clearly, in the hugest of huge spots, like a Game 7 or a Game 6, towards the end of that game in the fourth quarter, he comes up small and he has his entire career. So I look at it that way, that you've dodged a bullet. Here's the problem, and this is a problem. You don't have a point guard on this team. Maxey's not a point guard.
No, you don't.
You don't have a distributor right now, and you only have $12 million, a mid-level exception in money to play with because you're cap strapped. So this is where Daryl Morey has to really earn his money and show you how creative and how skilled he is as a GM if Harden walks, to be able to fill those voids. Now, you can partly do it if you trade away Tobias Harris for something that can help you or to free up some cap space. But this is not going to be easy, Derek. So while I'm glad and I want him out of here, I don't want him re-signed for long term. I also recognize what it looks like if he's gone.
How much money would it free up if Harden leaves?
Only $1 million.
How much?
12. That's it.
So what if he stays? How much free space do they have?
Not much. They still have a mid-level exception. Yeah, they still would have that. Yeah.
So even if he leaves, they only have $12 million in space?
Yeah, the cap is strange. It's not like
there's a stupid cap in the NBA, man.
Not like Harden walks. For example, if Harden was making 33, you don't all of a sudden free up 33.
Okay,
it's just not the way the cap works in the NBA. It's a weird cap. It's a soft cap.
Here's the thing. I'm with you, James Harden. You ain't got to leave, but you got to get up out of here. Okay. Thank you for your services. You gave us some exciting moments, but you failed in the biggest moments. And if what we're hearing is true, that basically he helped usher Doc Rivers out the door. And as I posed the question yesterday, does James Harden have more clout because of his relationship with Morey? Does he have more clout with the Sixers organization than the franchise MVP player, Joel Embiid? If he does, that's bad. That's bad juju right there.
Yep.
If he wants to go to, and of course we hear the rumors he wants to play his kind of ball, wants to be him. Well, he can go back to Houston to play his kind of ball. It's a young team. He can go down and do what he wants to do. And the organization would just be happy to have a veteran leader like a James Harden. When has James Harden ever shown up big in the playoffs, in a playoff series? I can't think of any time. Can you? Okay. Mm-hmm. Let him go. The only problem is if you let James Harden go, if you do somehow, some way trade Tobias, I hate to say it, but this team is much worse off, which means you ain't winning 54 games next year.
Mm-hmm.
You might struggle to get in a play-in game next year. That might be your only road to the playoffs is a play-in game. But that's okay. As long as people understand next year is going to be like a dark cloud over this organization. You're not going to be one of the top 3 teams in the East. With the 5 teams that I mentioned yesterday, the 3 are solid: Milwaukee, Boston, Miami, and the Knicks and Cleveland are up and coming. So you're going to take some lumps. Mm-hmm. But if I have to take my lumps compared to keeping James Harden here, then lump me up. I'll take the lumps every time. Every time I'll take the lumps.
Lump me up. All right. So let me throw one more fire, one more log on the fire here for you. Okay. There's a writer, Stefan Bundy. Bundy.
Al Bundy. What?
It's Stefan Bondy, B-O-N, not Bundy, Bondy, B-O-N-D-Y. Okay. Yeah. He covers the Knicks for the New York Daily News. Okay. And in response to, he quote tweeted Keith Pompey's tweet to the link of his story about what we just discussed. And it's about an hour ago as well. And said, been told since midseason that Joel Embiid is the guy to watch for the Knicks, and Philly's playoff flame out only intensified that belief.
What?
That's again, this is just what these guys are throwing out there. Now, we know Keith. I trust Keith. There's no question. But I'm just telling you what Stefan Bundy's throwing out there. Now, a couple things. I am extremely frustrated with Embiid. I worry that he's never going to be able to step up big in a big game as well. The sort of the same stuff we're talking about with Harden, I worry about with Embiid. Can put up monster numbers, can look dominant at times, but when it is like DEFCON 5 kind of moment, he cradles a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
That said, if Harden walks and you're moving Embiid, be prepared to be a lottery team again. Be prepared to be among the worst teams in the NBA. Be prepared to almost go back to the process era. And now ask yourself if you're willing to take it that far. With the Harden thing, you ultimately it's in his hands. He decides that. He can opt out and he can go sign with Houston. That's his right. Embiid would be you deciding that, you being the Sixers, deciding that you want to trade him and move on from him. That's a whole nother matter. That's a whole other extreme if that's where you're headed with this thing. I don't think the Sixers would do that. I personally do not.
I don't either. First of all, I'm not trading him in the East.
Right. You're going to give him to a team already in your division that has shown promise this past year.
I'm not trading him to the East unless you give me a whole bunch of players back and draft picks. I'm not trading him in the East, first of all. Second of all, Rob, I've been thinking about this ever since the Sixers went out with a whimper this past Sunday. And everybody's talking about Embiid has to take his game to the next level.
Right.
I don't know if there is a next level for Embiid. I think he's hit his peak at this stage of his career. I honestly do. Yep. And that's not a knock against Embiid. It's that I think Embiid is what he is. I think what we saw of Embiid the last 2 seasons, because we said the same thing last year, Embiid has to take his game to another level. Well, he took it to an MVP level, but when it came to the playoffs, he wasn't consistently that guy. Hasn't been.
Yep. I know.
If you trade him, you're right. Then what is it? What is the next motto called? Not the process. Wait and see.
Yeah.
What's the next motto?
But that's the other thing, Derek. Like I'm really conflicted on this one with Embiid. And again, this is just this guy speculating, but I'm really conflicted on this one because on one hand, I don't want to watch awful basketball. But on the other hand, if I'm really being honest with myself, do I feel like this team with Embiid is going to win a title? And if I'm sitting here right now on May 19th with you, and I'm keeping it real with you, which I always do.
Right.
No, I don't. I don't think so. I think he doesn't have that DNA for whatever reason.
No.
Is that a guarantee? No, but it's just I'm giving you my gut right now. So if I feel that way, ultimately, why not rip the Band-Aid off and deal with the consequences of it? Admittedly, I'm conflicted on the Embiid piece of it. I'm not on Harden. Like, goodbye. See
you. Bye-bye.
Yes.
Rob, how many times do we see in sports a team, prime example, Utah Jazz were a good team, solid team, but they realized they went as far as they could with that nucleus. And what did they do? They gutted the team.
Right.
Okay. The Sixers, 3 years in a row, bowing out in the second round. Are they sitting behind closed doors saying, we've gone as far as we can go with this formula that we've tried to adapt to? If that is the case, Harden definitely gone, and they would have to consider trying to move Embiid to get some better complementary pieces, better array of shooters, maybe better array of defenders, and obviously get some more draft picks to try to build this thing the right way again. Would it work? Don't know. You could have another 10 years of frustration with this organization, but if you've 3 years in a row, you can't go any further, no matter what you've tried with what you have, it might be time to implode it. Yeah. It really is. And, you cross your fingers and hope that it'll get better. Look at how many years we went through the process, okay? Look at how many high draft picks they have. How many of those draft picks are still here?
Other than Embiid?
Noel, Falk.
All gone. Okafor, all gone.
Okafor, all
Ben
gone.
Simmons, gone.
Simmons, all gone.
Yep.
So it doesn't necessarily mean a new process or the wait and see mentality will work, but it may be at that point where they got to think about imploding this thing.
Yeah, I know. And and look, I should say that the other component to this is that Morey, starts pulling rabbits out of his hat and makes some unbelievable moves, and all of a sudden the Sixers, they keep Embiid, but he finds a real point guard and he finds some other diamond in the rough, and this team all of a sudden is back in contention. Do I think that's going to happen? I don't, but it's possible. You could move Tobias Harris, get some assets back and guys who can play, or maybe you get a draft pick out of it and all of a sudden that guy turns into something. And that's how you maybe change this thing. Maybe that's how you change your fortunes. You stay patient with Embiid, et cetera. I think that's less likely, but that's possible. I feel like if you strap yourself to Harden for another 3-4 years at $40 million per year, I think you're absolutely screwed. And the Rockets are doing you a big giant favor. That's what they're doing ultimately.
Some people will say, well, why can't the Sixers follow a similar suit to Miami? Miami has one superstar and a bunch of supporting players, 7 players, can't emphasize that enough. 7 players were not drafted in the NBA, and they're in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they're up 1-0 on Boston, the perennial favorites to win it all. First of all, the Sixers don't have an Eric Spoelstra behind the bench. I think Eric Spoelstra is one of the top 2 or 3 coaches in the NBA, even though he doesn't have even if he doesn't win the title this year. Yep. He's one of the top 2 or 3 coaches.
I think he's number 1, but I agree with you.
You know what? I might agree with you there.
Yep.
The Sixers don't have an Eric Spoelstra, number 1. Number 2, doesn't necessarily mean if the Sixers follow that suit, they'll have the same success Miami has, because I don't think Joel Embiid is that dog like a Jimmy Butler. I think Embiid's a solid player. I think he's the best big man. Let's face it, Rob, the traditional big man as we know it in the middle is almost obsolete in today's game.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Think about it.
It's a wing league.
It's a wing league. Yes.
Yep.
So if you can find another 7-foot wing guy that can throw up threes, you maybe got to look at that. But
yeah,
whatever you do, if Embiid and Harden are both gone, whatever you do, you're spinning a roulette wheel, and you don't know if it's going to come up in your favor. And fans are going to be frustrated. They're going to be screaming bloody murder. But it is what it is, because will you be any less frustrated than you are right now with what has happened over the last 3 years? No.
Well, I think the other thing, Derek, to point out here is, you're dealing from a really difficult spot. Yeah, I mean, Sixers fans, I think understand it, but if you don't, you need to. You have no draft picks. You have very limited cap space, as we talked about, ability to make a move, right now. And you have a team that hasn't been even built to what it is right now. You haven't been able to get out of the second round anyway.
Right.
This is not a good situation.
Right.
This is not, the Eagles 2 years ago had all kinds of cap space and maneuverability and all this other stuff. And Howie went out and was aggressive and was able to build that into a Super Bowl team. This is going to be a really hard job for Daryl Morey. And it's not usually the kind of thing that he does. I mean, he's one who usually just kind of adds. He's an adder, if you will.
Our producer, Tone DeShield, says the Heat have Pat Riley. We have Elton Brand and Daryl Harden Morey.
Yeah. But I will say this, though. The one thing Harden might just have his mind made up and he wants to go back to Houston. That's where he has a home. His mother lives there. He's got business ventures there. He's treated like a king in that town. He may just have his mind made up. But if this was Morey saying to Harden and his people, hey, look, I got to draw a line somewhere, man. We're not going to give you 4 years, 210 million, whatever he's looking for.
No.
That's where I'll give him props. That he didn't like his fondness and his love for Harden didn't blind him enough where he was going to hamstring this organization forever. I'll give him that much at least.
Well, it ain't over yet. I mean, we heard the rumors, and I'm with you. I don't doubt Keith Pompey one bit if he puts it out there. If he puts his name attached to it out there, there's got to be some truth to it. But if somehow, some way they give this dude a max contract, this fan base is going to go nuts.
Yeah,
because that's the last thing you need. Because you're still hamstrung. No matter how you look at it, you're still coming back with the same nucleus. They can't get past the second round. And I'm telling you now, I'm 99% sure they won't get any further than they've gotten the last 3 years with that. And fans don't want that anymore. Fans are tired of that. It's nice to get to the playoffs, but they want more. When you get to the playoffs, when you win, when you learn how to win, you take that next step, which is to get to the playoffs. When you get beat early in the playoffs, you learn from that. You move to the next levels. You keep moving up. This team has been stagnant for 3 years now. It's over. It's over.
And I also think that, the sell from the Sixers to the fans is, without saying it, implying that it was Doc Rivers. And I'm not, again, everybody knows where I'm at with Doc, but this wasn't just a Doc Rivers problem.
No,
far from it.
No.
This is coming up small with Brett Brown as the coach in the second round. This is coming up small with Doc Rivers as the coach in the second round. So you've had different coaches in here who haven't been able to unlock whatever this is here with Embiid and then the other parts around Embiid, plain and simple.
Rob, I tell you, diehard Sixer fans are in a world of hurt right now.
Yeah.
They're still stinging from last Sunday. Now they're already started to pick up on all these rumors that are going on and they're voicing their opinions, and rightfully so. We keep hearing people, we see it in the chat now, dump Embiid, do this, dump. Okay, be careful what you ask for, because you could have another 5-10 years of misery if you go that route.
Yep.
I'm on the fence. I'm not saying getting rid of Embiid is a bad thing, and I'm not saying keeping Embiid is a bad thing. I'm just saying you need to get more dogs around Embiid to make him better. Embiid can only do so much. The last couple of years, I'm convinced that Embiid his game caps at a certain point.
Yeah.
And you need some more dogs. I mean, look at the 4 teams that are still playing right now. It's not about one player. Look at what Jamal Murray did in that fourth quarter last night.
It looked like Tatum in Game 6.
He took over.
He just went crazy. Yeah.
Looked like Tatum in Game 7.
Yep, both. Yeah.
He took over.
He was awesome, Jamal Murray.
I mean, you look at what the Lakers have. You look at what Miami has. Jimmy Butler is the star, but you got dudes picking up the slack all over the place.
No doubt.
Sixers don't have that. They don't have no dogs, man. They got too many puppies on this team. You need to go out and get yourself some pit bulls, some Rottweilers, man.
Yeah.
They don't have that on this team.